So welcome back to another video of the Bonusvideo channel. I'm back at the UK and last day. So we're going to talk about two cars. One of them was already done in the previous video, and now it's going to be probably PRD's most famous car, or was, or is, who knows. But here it is. Well, obviously here it is. This is used to be the twin V6 205. As you can see, it still has the original. Is it the original clamshell or is this a new one made?
Yeah, no, this is the original one. It's, the reason it's in this state is because it was painted matte black, as everything of mine. And then I wrapped it just so it was easy to clean. It hides any cracks.
Yeah. That's still open, by the way?
What's that?
Does it still open?
Is what still open?
Does it open?
Yes, I just need the magic brush.
Ah.
So you just show him one round and go and get that magic brush.
You're going to get the magic brush. Well, as you noted last year, oh yeah, quick recap actually. Last year he already pulled it apart and getting it ready for the customer who bought this to get the new conversion made. It's going to be it's going to be a street car again. It's going to have a new life, and as you can see, a lot of stuff has been done. A lot of stuff needs to be done, but still.
Yeah.
Already a lot of stuff has been done. I mean, look at this. Look! There is the mighty brush.
Right.
And this is not just a trunk, this is the entire rear end of the car, the clamshell.
Yeah, they call it the clamshell, don't they, over there?
The T16s, yeah.
Yeah, the hatch, cabin. I've called it all sorts of stuff. So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've got more laser cut stuff here. There's parts everywhere. I've not been on it for a couple of days, so we're just literally just move stuff in here just to get out of the way so I'm not tripping over it.
Yeah, exactly.
These trailing arms, which I'll discuss in a few minutes. So a lot of people go, oh, that looks a bit OTT, and it's supposed to be OTT. So what I wanted to create was something a bit, I would say it's back in the day, 90s, all these bike frames that were oversized.
Yeah.
Which I quite like. I guess I'm just old, but I wanted it to look oversized. So these tubes are what you would normally put the main bars in. These are 45. Some of them are a lot thinner. These are the thickest ones. These are 2.5mm. So I wanted to obviously make it look oversized, and I guess it looks more aggressive. But it's basically a road car. So if I was going for the lightweight version, which is a track, which is fine, I would have done it a lot different. But as this is a road car, it needed to be strong. Potholes over here are ridiculous. And knowing a few people with radicals and all sorts of cars like that with the frame, they bend. They only have, say, 120-hour shelf life, I like to call it, before they need to have a full rebuild, and they bend for fun. So I wasn't wanting to go as a, motorsport spec space frame. I wanted it to be more of a, well, something to,
A road car, so that you can use all, yeah.
It needed to be different.
Not daily, but
yeah.
just a fun road car, I'm guessing,
It needed to be different. I mean, the customer said, oh, well, let's go and make a T16 replica. And I said, no, too many people have done that. I don't believe in trying to make something which has been done before and many, many times. Let's just make it our own. Let's make a 205 in our vision and the way we want it. So I'm doing this on where the customer is and what we want to do. We want to make it, well, I won't say the ultimate, but that's quite big-headed, but something which is a lot different to what anyone else would have built before. So go for the rear engine. Again, this is Megane engine. We start oohing and ahhing whether to use this engine or not. We could go for the K20. We thought about even a rotary engine with obviously wheel drive. I've done it in a sense that we could put a diff in the front and make it four-wheel drive. So I've not blocked any sort of further thinking in regards to that sort of thing. So, but at the moment it's loosely around the Megane engine, being obviously the way it is at the moment. You probably think, oh, how's this going to work? Well, it's quite technically much different than what you would imagine. So it's basically a trailing arm with double wishbones. with inbound shocks, which will be running down here. I will obviously show you some laser cuttings in a second, but the front is also double wishbone suspension. It's all been calculated on it's all been drawn up on a calculator to make sure that we have the correct roll steer, pitch and kingpin alignment, scrub area and all those sort of technical things people rave on about. So it's obviously also been designed around a fair few different applications. If it doesn't go to the road, we can turn it into a rally car, we can raise the suspension. If it's going to be a track car, we can drop the suspension. We've got multiple pickup points on the suspension at the front and back, so we can raise the roll centres and manipulate the steering, the handling characteristics to our own liking. So I don't just do one setting and then leave it. It's all very adjustable, similar to what Meggy is really, but a little bit another level, I guess, with that one.
Yeah, different level, yeah.
Let me just show you some ideas of what I've done with the. So I've actually purposely bought a CNC cutter for this. CNC plasma cutter for this. Because obviously cutting this out by hand, I mean, anyone will know, if you cut something like this out by hand, it never looks perfect. And it looks homemade, handmade, or what you want to call it. And I wanted this to look as if we have put the time and effort into it. So this will be one gusset or bracket. Obviously this is the point for the damper, which will be coming up here. Obviously there'll be a plate on the end of there, and obviously the pickup will come down here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. If you can just visualise that for a moment there, that's not going to stay there, is it? No. And this
so you need some welding?
Bottom. So we basically made two of these and we flip it round, and we have that going there, and we have that going on there. So that'll be welded there as well. Okay. So we have like the front, the upper pickup points, the wishbones, and the lower. Okay, we can adjust that with the obviously just dropping up and down, and that gives us a bit more roll centres and stuff. Obviously there's a bar that's got to come down here, obviously because it was added on, it's not been done yet. There's two of these, so there's one there and one here. Okay, these are 2.5mm thick, which is good enough.
Yeah, that's pretty stout.
We might box these off, we don't know yet, but we'll soon see. And we have got, let me just show you some other bits and pieces. This bar here is just to stop it from, when I was welding it, stop it from twisting.
Oh yeah.
This won't be here, we'll have another gusset in here, and there'll be another gusset in here, and there'll be a few more gussets on the side, no doubt. This is not the final design. You need to come this way, well. This was the first design. Okay, we have.
Oh, this is a prototype, the plastic.
Yeah, this is plastic card, and it's quite easy to work with. You just score it and bend it, and it breaks really straightforward. So this was where the trailing arm design came in. It was going to be one single trailing arm, floating, with two wishbones, pickups top and bottom, which is similar to the 205 anyway. So hence why I did it that way. I want to try and keep a bit of the original design in there, but then it's slowly progressed to an Evo 1 and then an Evo 2, then we've got an Evolution 3 now, which is, we've scrapped this and we have come up with, we have this bracket down here. Okay, so this is the lower wishbone, or say trailing arm pickup point. There is 4 holes there, very good reason for that. Obviously anyone who knows a little bit about trailing arms, the position of that trailing arm will tell you whether you've got, well, whether the chassis will lift or it will drop, depending on the actual level, where the actual bar. So if you've got a bar up here and you accelerate, it will drop, and vice versa. So if we're doing anything like drag racing and stuff, we can have the back end lift up or drop down, and it gives you different characteristics as well coming out of the corner. So hence the different heights of the holes. Okay, so called anti-dive, you might have heard it different ways, but that goes in there.
Is it the anti-dive or anti-squat?
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing,
so there's both, yeah, well, similar, one back to front, one's the other way, but it's basically the same principle. So rather than having 2 arms now, which we've found we're fouling on there, and it would foul on here, well, it would have worked as a good bump stop, but Didn't like that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a standard wishbone. Yeah, just blink out. We have a standard wishbone here, triangle wishbone to here. Okay, and then we have a trailing arm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you might think obviously with this being shorter, halfway, so to speak, come here, and obviously the wishbone, the actual, the upright will move in a different motion. It might pitch backwards and stuff, but that doesn't really matter on the rear. There's no bump steer, or it won't affect the bump steer. Again, we've got control arms on the back for the actual hub. The hubs are getting machined at the moment, so I can't show you the hubs, but they are basically a front wheel drive, a Laguna hub, and we use like basically a dummy steering rack to adjust track, and we can lift the height of the inner pickup point. Being up at the top, it will, as soon as it comes up, it will toe in, so when it goes into the corner, it'll toe in, or we can have it at the bottom, and then as it comes into the corner, when it goes into bump, it will toe out, which might work. So you want a bit of rear steering. On a tight track, you want it to toe out. On long, straight corners, you want it to toe in, to tuck in. So, and then again, we can change characteristics, whichever suits the car. So, I'll take you to the front. I did lay these bars in for the seat rails, but they didn't work out how I wanted them. I might even do my own, plasma cutted sort of design. Or we just make it really quite simple. Depends.
Yeah.
It is depending on how much time we've got on this project. We have now decided that we're not having a floor, a standard floor. So to save a bit of weight, obviously this frame has been designed, or the floor, or the pan, or what you like to call it, has been designed so the front is lower than the rear. Okay, and that is set at 4 degrees. And that is so we can flat floor it or flat pan it. We can put some some vents in there, and we can also build the diffuser off that as well. So the front starts quite narrow, and as it goes through here, it starts to open up the envelope of air and create a bit of vacuum, all being well. We will need to take these off, so we're going to have to put all new one-piece seals in there, and that'll be part of the floor. The floor will be bolted underneath these bars, okay, and then obviously on top of that, which will be aluminium, it'll be soundproofed, it'll be carpeted, and depending on what colours we are probably going black carpet, and we're going gunmetal grey for the bars, nothing too bright because obviously it will show up in the window, and then pretty much everything is Alcantara.
Oh. So are you going to put like rock wool installation like in between, or?
No, all underneath.
Okay, nothing on
no, we've got aluminium sheet, we've got soundproofing, and then we've got the carpet underneath.
Oh yeah.
It'll be slightly different. So you basically have that sort of race bar feel inside. You won't be stepping in between the bars when you get in. There'll be a platform, I call it, where obviously you climb in, and that'll be a lovely. I can't tell you what the design will be yet, but it'll be floating. Okay, it'll be not part of the bars, so it doesn't look as part of it. But again, that's where your feet will go in. It'll be like a little tub, so to speak, with a nice little design in it with the pedals in there.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, this will be there'll be a centre console down here. Again, can't go into too much detail on that. It's quite a surprise. Yeah, got to keep my mouth shut with that one. So the dashboard again will be all hand stitched. We're not sure what colour stitching we're going. Depends on the details of every car has a colour, doesn't it, with a detail, whether it's red or black or grey. So again, we've worked that one out. We might go white, so it's white, grey and black. Or we could go red like the original 205. So the carpet could be red yet. We're not,
Yet to be determined.
Yeah, we try and keep our options open. We don't like to say this is what it's going to be and aim for it. I like to try and loosely build something around there, so it's fun when you come to do it. So obviously the front being again very different to the standard 205. The whole thing been cut out.
Yeah.
What's left of the 205 now is the sills, the B pillars, the A
The sills are going to
pillars.
get removed anyway as well. Did you say?
Well, the outside one, and we might keep the inner one in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's already been welded into the bars. obviously the roofs are still original. We've still got to take these gussets out because that was done a long time ago, 20 years ago. And obviously they don't look very pretty now time's moved on. And that is a roll cage. It's an OMP roll cage which I've left in there and then built around. It's not been welded down to the exact position, so it was a bit of a pain in the ass trying to put a cage in between it, but it's all worked out very nice. It is absolutely die straight, much better than the 5mm tolerance people work to. But yeah, it's took a long time to get there. Bending the bars sometimes took a few efforts and attempts.
Because you do all this stuff by hand, right? Well, of course with tools, but you don't have like a motorized thing or anything.
Well, no, but it's very difficult. If you can imagine a really long bar and you bent it at 10 degrees, and then you measure that long bar, you can see it might be 1 mil. If you've got a really small bar and you bend it 10 degrees, you can't work out it's 1 mil until it's extra long. The longer it is, the easier it is to find out.
Right.
So it's difficult to do small pieces, and you won't know until you put it in. You find out it's not quite straight, so you have to get back out here and bend it. The best example of that one is these two main bars, which were an absolute pick. It took me pretty much all day. So these two bars here, which are purposely put in here because obviously if there's any shock or any accident, this bar will take all the grunt. Hence why it's one piece and it's bent in 3 different dimensions actually. So we've got it flat here, okay. I think it's 15 degrees bent there, and then you've got 3 degrees raised as well because the front is ever so slightly higher to give us a bit of the caster. Not quite like you see on the dune buggy, but a tiny little bit of caster.
Yeah.
Obviously the floor comes from the bumper up to this part here, and then it follows on. So there's a bit of a decline, so it doesn't go with the bars, but this bar was incredibly difficult to bend. One time was fine, well, difficult, but to get another bar identical was a challenge, which meant I had to basically make the bar extra long. Then I could obviously work out how much it was out, and then bend it to the right dimensions, and then cut it down. And yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Bending bars is very easy, but getting them both the same is very difficult. This bar here was not so bad. Fit it inside the bar here, and that bar over there was difficult. Right, so because that bar is about 3 mil that way, and this one it wasn't. So again, I bent it perfect. I had to bend another one because it was too perfect and it didn't fit over there. So you'll find that some of my welding is questionable. I like to weld backwards, so I like to fill the bead, get a lot of penetration. It looks ugly because there's a good reason for that. 1, it's properly penetrated, and 2, all my welds will be dressed. So basically all this will run into each other. You won't see the weld. Basically what Meggie is over there. So you won't see any fancy welding, not there for that reason. So same in the front. I mean, some of it was just welded in very quickly. And you'll see some areas like this here. There's still a bit of weld here where I've not ground off. It's not important at this stage. So we're going to have more gussets here. So we've made the wishbones, which I'll show you in a few seconds. Wishbones, lower wishbones and upper wishbones. We have made the gussets. We have made all the brackets. Have I got any brackets to show you?
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's kind of the
so
same.
little triangle things, but basically you've got your top wishbone off here, the strongest part, and obviously on these corners, which is the strongest, they are laying flat. The bearings are, so they're stronger that way. There's less roll and much stronger. So the rear lower is exactly the same, inverted, and the fronts are as well. There's a fuel tank. You see the fuel tank over there?
Oh yeah, fuel cell.
We did actually buy that and then work around it, and as we progressed we found out now we're going to have to cut that down and get it to fit inside. So it wasn't quite perfect because obviously this has been designed around the suspension, and then everything's been then moved on from there. So if you just take it, before we lose any more light, if you just bring the camera on here, I'll show to explain how I do
Can I
this.
work on Aline? Just...
Yeah, it'll be fine there. So there's a lip here left, okay?
Oh yeah.
And there's be obviously a plate going down here, okay? And that'll go all the way around and up that top part off. And then you can see down here there'll be another plate going down there, and that'll curl around there. Just sort of show them around there. So another plate round here. So that's why these are bent to the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So there's the firewall, okay? And then on here we'll have the inbound suspension will come in here to down the springs. With your triangle bar, whatever you like to call it, and obviously the rod down to the bottom. Wish I had the what's name to show you the hubs, but I don't. Again, these door bars, I had a lot of grief over these door bars. A lot of people say, oh, nice bending, and some people, they're not strong, they're bent. Well, obviously. But they didn't notice that there's a huge bar at the bottom, and there's a huge bar at the top. And I've still not put any gussets in there yet, so there'll be a design in there, being obviously the 40th anniversary of Peugeot, the 20th year of PRD, and my 50th build. So you can imagine I'm putting a lot of effort into this car. I'm getting old. I'm not retired, but I'm getting old. So while I can still use my hands, I've not really got arthritis and bad back yet. So I'm going to put a lot of effort into this. All the interior will be coach worked. It's not going to be. It's going to be funny to explain this. It's going to have that race look with the bars, okay, and then obviously it's going to be all stitched with leather, and we're going to make it quite posh, hopefully. Seats upstairs. I can show you the seats in a few minutes. The engine, we're not quite sure how much power. With 300 horse at the moment, quite enough of okay. Customers thinking about going a little bit more, similar as what Meggy is, 600 horse, but I said, well, tell you what, for an extra 100 horse on these engines, you spend another 4 grand with CNC and big valves and all that. Just stick with standard head, but 4 valves, 4 pistons, different inlet manifold, and then you'll get good for a good 400 horse easy, maybe 450. So, and that'll be good for the gearbox as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, wishbones. Oh, I can show you the trailing arms actually now. So this is one tray, and obviously the bigger. Yeah. That'll be at the bottom. Okay. And obviously you've got one coming across here. Obviously the design, I've not made all the gussets yet. And obviously that'll pick up. And then obviously we've got the one at the top here. So that's where it's going to be. And obviously we can lift this up, down, this up and down. So we can have what the anti-squat you like to call it? Anti-dive?
Yeah, anti-squat, yeah.
Yeah, right, let me show you these wishbones.
Yeah.
So we have some oval tubing, which I thought would be nice to try. This is 2 mil thick, a bit more than a 1.6. We have insert, got a box of goodies here, all your bearings. So we have a bearing insert that's been crudely welded on there, I'll put it that way. And then obviously it's been welded, filled in under here. And obviously a lot of people would run them on the end of a tube without any on the back, but I want to be a bit more reassurance. So we've come up with this plasma cut plate, sorry. Been welded in, I've dressed it. I mean, it's not finished yet, so it'll look a lot better since there. That's
and I like the sword looking touch,
Yeah, so I've got a good example of that somewhere. So that is the template. Let me just see if I've got a tube.
Nah, yeah, do you have one?
So,
yeah, you do.
Well, I can show you on this thing, can't I? So, it took me a little while to think about this one, but I had to do it so it was easy because I had lots of these to do. So, this simply slides on the end of there. Okay, and that gives you an idea. Then you use a grinder, you cut through here. Okay, and then you're left with that, and then you just simply squeeze it. Okay, and that is basically picks up on one of these, which fits in there. Okay, now I've had a lot of people say, oh, you can't do that because you get a lot of twist here. But what they don't know is I've not simply just welded around here. I've flattened it here. Okay, and then what I've done, I've welded through this into this insert as well. I've then welded round, and obviously that's carried on. So and then after that, I forgot one of you before. I put the cap on. Cap, crown, whatever you like to call it. A lot of people don't really have a name for it. Once it's been welded, we dress it. You can see the shape's not perfect, but that wasn't the intention. Obviously we put another one of these on which has been split on that. Goes a little bit further this time, and that's what these are.
Oh
Quite
yeah.
a little fancy design on there. Looks like a sword. I think it's quite unusual.
Yeah.
Bit sharp. So basically that's the same principle in there, but I've cut that. I've slit down here, I've slit down there, and I slit down here, and I welded it through this plate into this plate, there, and there. I've then obviously gone round it again, and then machined the end. I mean, it's still not perfect until it's going off the powder coat. That cap will give you more strength. Now, anyone who knows anything about wishbones pull and push, they don't twist, okay? There is at some point where they do because of the actual design. The design of these are simply, I mean, if you see the standard 205 wishbone, it's like that, isn't it? You've got your anti-roll bar coming in here, and what happens is bends here, it's a weak point. So
yeah.
obviously you go out there, okay? And obviously it's in line with this bearing, so when it's pushing, it pushes down right down the tube. So that avoids all that shenanigans of problems. So that's the front setup. So we've got the lower ones, top wishbones, and obviously that's the adjustable bar in the back. So yeah, you can see the design of it there. It's not quite 90 degrees. It's I think it's like 30 degrees, 70 degrees, and that is so we can adjust. Well, we've got static tack caster and dynamic caster. So as it goes into bump, we can change the caster rate, so to speak, and the ramp angle, how much it actually affects it as we go through that sort of distance of travel. So yeah, so that's as far as I've got with the suspension at the moment. I'm waiting for the hubs to be machined. So I've converted a front wheel drive hub, which normally has the normal damper, 2 holes, pickups. We cut the top off.
It's like McPherson strut, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So what I've done, I've gone on the calculator, measured out the kingpin alignment, scrub area, and I've lopped the top off, worked out the distance from the lower wishbone to the top, and obviously from the actual hub face to the pickup point. Now, we originally designed, I can actually show you over here. I think. Oh, here we go. It's changed a lot since here. So massively changed because we've obviously gone through different evolutions. So this point here now is there, okay, and this point is right up here. So it doesn't really show you very well. So you can imagine it's like an old Formula 1 car sort of setup, which I quite like the look of. There's very, very, very little change in the actual camber. So as it rolls, the wheels actually stays pretty much at a fixed camber rate. So it doesn't roll the tyre over. It does actually go into the ground a bit. Again, that can be changed as well by changing these pickup points, which we've already done. So obviously it's a McPherson strut with the thing cut off. And then what I've done, I've calculated at the lowest setting. Okay, that gives us an extra amount of change in roll steer, roll centre. And then if we lift that up, we get more changes. Oh, sorry, less changes of all the dimensions and stuff like that. So depending on what we use the car for and how it's going to handle, we've pretty much got all the control of all the suspension pickups and the way we can manipulate it to handle specifically. I mean, some people, oh, it's got to handle like a 205, so have a bit of lift off oversteer. We can do that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Raise the rear up and drop the front a little bit, and we can get it running around on the spot. Or we can have it quite the opposite for anyone who's a bit scared of wheel drive. Rear engine car, we can have it the other way, so it understeers. It's better to understeer first than oversteer.
Yeah.
Although some people argue the other. We want it to oversteer, don't we? So yeah, I reckon we've got another year yet. You can see the other. In fact, I will take this out. This is the steering rack pickup point. Again, you have to think of all the options. So again, we need to take all the slag off this. So we have fuel lines to go through there.
Oh yeah.
We've got coolant to go through here, so we've got coolant to the hoses at the front, so the radiator at the front. Obviously they're just lightning, we can put anything through there, we can put wiring. These are for the steering rack, and we can raise it up, so we've got the normal setting, the minimum setting, and the upper setting. This will then give us more air, so we can change the bump steer.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Whether going into bump causes it to go negative or positive, it depends on here. As well as we can manipulate the outside. So if we want to slam it to the floor, we can raise this up to the top, and we can obviously shorten the actual rose joint underneath the hub as well. So it means that we could have the same amount of steering. I mean, some people you see a lot of modern cars now slammed. We can do as much camber as we want, and then park up, change a few points, and put it back to where it was. So the other thing I haven't spoke about yet is obviously the radiator setup. I haven't got the radiator here, or the charge cooler. Now we want to try and keep it, Peugeot. We don't want to go too far with it. So we've got obviously the radiator in there. We've got the charge cooler, which is going to be across here, which is another radiator. So like the charge cooler radiator. This is going to be leaning forwards, okay? And
a bit of a V-mount setup, basically, kind of.
Well, you think of the T16 bonnet, it would be cut out.
So
yeah. Rather than the air coming through the radiator and up the bonnet, it's going to come through the grille in a box into a charge cooler radiator and out the bonnet like the T16 bonnet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The bonnet upstairs you saw the automatic.
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's glass fibre. So it's going to be bonded onto these. It's still going to have the seam that stops anything cracking. We're going to have a nice big cutout here, similar to the T16. Okay, so it's been bent down and made into a box, so you can, from this direction, you'll just see a big vent through the bonnet. Okay, and obviously the charge cooler. And then we're going to have 2 pins here. The customer wants it all automated. I thought, no, we'll just keep it old school.
Yeah, I should go to Bad Obsession Motorsport for that.
What's that?
You know, Binky.
Oh,
they
yeah,
can have a look at
this. To that actually, funny enough, yeah. It didn't come from that, it come from the RS200 idea, I thought. With obviously the back end lifted up, I thought let's have the front end lifted up. So we were thinking of it sliding forwards and taking it off, which we might still do. But we have a bar going across there, which is a crash bar.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're going to incorporate that crash bar with bearings, so it all lifts, it folds off that crash bar. So the whole front end will lift up. And then when we want to fill up with fuel, there's a reason for that. The fuel tank's there, we just pull up the petrol station, pull up the front end of the car, and then fill up your car. So
yeah, that's really
cool.
cool.
We don't have any attendants running out, so you can't put water, you can't put fuel in your engine and stuff like that. That's quite amusing. But no, it's just so we can work on things a lot. I mean, taking the bonnet off is great, and these the glass fibre bonnets are a pain in the ass. I mean, you pull your pins out and you have to lean it up against something, don't you?
Yeah.
With this, you just pull pin and then just pull it back, and it stays up on some wires like you would on the original ones, and then obviously just drop it back down again. Or like he says, he wants it on a little activator, so it lifts up and drops down again. But I think it's a bit too much transformy and it's got that sort of thing. So
and what you could do is have a lever with like a little motor that pulls a cable that goes instead of.
Yeah, there is that, but I think that would be going a little bit OTT.
Yeah, maybe later. Let's get to go.
The interior is going to be, the interior is going to be the showcase. I think when you step inside, you've got all your dials sunken into your dash. We've already had stitching around there. We're going to go with a Haltech dash, the bigger one, which they're releasing this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to try and keep it as much like a 205, but I mean, we're not trying to make a 206 or a 208 style, but we're going to make it loosely on there. And then obviously, like I say, it might change by now. The seats again are very, very lightweight. They're about 4 kilograms, which is absolutely unbelievable. They're all Alcantara already. They're very comfortable. Obviously, they could be adjustable as well. So pretty much anyone can do. The steering column will have to drop down and move forwards and backwards. And obviously the gear stick will be on a cable, and you can move that forwards and backwards. So you've got the right. I think the best thing for a car is feeling comfortable in it, and it fits you like a glove. A lot of people just jump in the car and they don't feel in control of it. You see them sliding out the seat, and the elbows at the side of your shoulders.
Yeah.
Not,
That's obviously the worst. In seat, it's not
yeah, you
properly
see a lot of
fitted for
people
a track.
sitting like this, don't they? So
not good.
You've got no
Not
control over it. You just shouldn't ever hold onto the steering wheel to hold you still. The seat should hold you still. With obviously your arms there to move the steering wheel only, and the gear stick, I guess. So, yeah, so there's plenty more to go. We got to a bit of a point with it a few weeks ago where we just got so much we could do with it, we didn't know where to start. And we couldn't do one thing without manipulating something else, and then we couldn't start that one until we had something else. It ended up being a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So it has been quite slow. I can't change one thing without seeing how it will affect something somewhere else. Again, the plasma cutter. I can show you again, the plasma cutter was a bit of a pain to set up, but once it's now set up, it's pretty straightforward. Oh, here you are.
Ah,
There's the charge cooler.
that's the
Radiator.
charger.
So that's what you'll see through the bonnet. As this is the radiator. I see. I forget where I put cars. So there's 6 cars I'm working on at once. You know what I mean? So
That's a
and
lot.
Engines. Oh, so
Bunch of engines.
yeah, I'm very quick. I'll tie this up very quickly. This is the Arc Droid. So it's something from Canada. And this thing's brilliant. It wasn't very expensive. So a lot of people think, oh, you got the money for that. No, I haven't. See, this is. It's paid for itself down with this car, and it's made things a lot quicker and a lot easier. So, what the customer says is we can put into some technology to make things much better. So, we made a very, very quick table which has legs stashed somewhere. Okay, and we just simply put a plate on there. We put a design into the actual touchscreen, which you've put in there, I'm hoping.
Yeah, put it in there.
And you simply just put your, as you call it, the Haltech chip in there.
Yeah.
Press the button and it'll cut out pretty much any design which you've probably seen and repeat it. Now the best function of this thing is its traceability. So if I've got something which I can't program, I'm not a programmer, so I'm getting better, but it's just something quite technical. I can just simply move it. We've got a little stylus pen. So you move it across there, you press it, and you move it there, press it, over there, press it, and you can basically trace it all out, and it'll just make the thing, and then you can press the button, it'll just copy it. It's like a copy machine.
And, cool.
Yeah, makes things so much easier. So, I mean, that part in there, any of those parts in there, just a triangle, straightforward, is 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. And then the circle, you just hold it down, make the circle, and it'll just trace it out, and then it'll copy it. So, even if you forgot your chip, your design on, left it at home, just trace it, press a button.
If it's not a too difficult design, yeah.
No, you can do as much complicated as you want. You can make multiple ones. It's a lot more difficult to do, but I've had this for about a month. I've only had it running for about, well, maybe 3 or 4 days I've had it running, and I've learned a lot since then. So obviously you need a plasma cutter, which thank God doesn't run on acetylene because it makes it even more. Just turn this off a bit, sitting. There you go. I mean, yeah, it's sitting in the background, it's a distracting, isn't it? So, yeah, it's a great bit of machinery. Anyone who does a bit of engineering or wants to make their own gussets and not have to order them online, you do it quite often. This is the thing you want. It's about £2.5 grand, I think it was. Relatively the plasma cutter would be about 1,300 quid.
Pretty.
Writing my name in there, the dust.
No, it's pretty funny when they label this. Yeah.
So,
One of these C clamps or G clamps or whatever you call them.
yeah, he's got different things, different. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and only the chairs and then we're done. Yeah. Of the seats. So we're upstairs. Ooh.
I can actually bring you up here now because I'm not so embarrassed of the mess. It's still messy, don't get me wrong, but I'm getting there. So you can see the bonnets here, okay? That's an export off eBay. Brilliant, you obviously see Maggie's little sills there where I've ripped them to pieces. These are the seats.
Beautiful seats.
They are, when I'm not destroying everything, very, very, very light. Obviously that's with the steel bits on the bottom as well.
Yeah.
So that's Alcantara.
They're very similar to the seats that are in Maggie.
Yes, they are, but they're full Absolutely filthy. I apologise for that.
Yeah, dusty, not filthy, but yeah.
Yeah, tomato filthy.
Yeah, true.
But that was a bit cleaner. So there, yeah, Alcantara with leather on the side. It's similar to what, I mean, this is the Alcantara we've got for the door cars and the. This is the door cars and what the dash will be as well. It's a bit warm up here, isn't it, since we've had the.
The aqua blaster running.
So that's the mould for the back end. Okay, that was done about 15, 16 years ago. This has been sat gathering dust for that long. Where's the dash? I think the dash is stashed down the back of it. Yeah, you can see the dash through there.
Oh yeah.
So again, it's a 205 dash. That's what we're going to be working with. Obviously, the Haltech dash will be inside the actual bezel, what you like to call it. And there'll be a fuel gauge and boost gauge and maybe a clock. I think that would be quite amusing.
Well, having a clock would be nice.
Yeah, a proper, you know.
Yeah, an old school clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Not too much digital stuff. I mean, we can make it digital, make it very 70s, very 80s. But my favourite era of the 205 was the 90s, phase 2. I'm not as old as everyone else. So the white clear indicators, the black trim, and it's my favourite. I'm not a big fan of the grey one, or should be really saying that, but it's just my preference really. So.
If that's a preference, that's a preference, you know. But yeah.
I think there's anything else to show you.
I think that was all it. So yeah, that is.
Over my magic brush, which I've had for many years, the same purpose as this. So it has got.
Yeah, that's really good. That's okay.
Testes, 1, 2.
Yeah, test. Yeah, that's just mention
the phone call. But no, very quickly, we're thinking of going Kevlar with this. This is the one I made in my parents' garage 15 years ago. It was only going to be a prototype, but because it came out so well, we kept it. But it's quite heavy, it's quite thick, it's got 3 layers of fiberglass, which is solid. I mean, like a bloody tag. It does weigh a bit of weight, weigh a bit of, you know.
Yeah, it has a bit of weight, yeah, we get it.
But again, it doesn't matter how many speed holes you put in it. That was obviously because the exhaust was behind there and needs to vent as much air, as much out as possible. Again, the size, we just get the...
And the slits are in there because of the rear wing, for the people who remember.
Yeah, that's right, rather big wing. Again, that was a lot of stuff I like to just experiment with. I'm not afraid to experiment, and a lot of people think I'm a bit crazy for doing that, but I think that's what life's all about.
Exactly.
Want to do what everyone else does. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've got lots of work to do yet. Once we get all the welding done, which is going to be next 6 months, it's going to be sent off and get it all powder coated.
Nice.
Everything's going to be powder coated. We want it a strong paint for the chassis and all the bars, and then obviously it's a case of assembling it all, and that's going to be the best bit.
Yeah.
And obviously in the meantime we'll start the engine, clean up the engine, and do what we're going to do with that again until we know. It's a case of tune in next time, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was basically it. Probably a bit longer than we all expected, but that's what's going on with the V6 twin. It's no longer a V6 or twin, but it's now called.
It's the 40th now.
It's now called the 40th.
I still call it the twin because it's been part of my life for 20 years now. So.
Exactly, yeah. And next year, or maybe when I get back, maybe before that, we'll have another video to see the progress he made, and hopefully see you back then as well. I hope you like this video, and see you in the next one. Later on.